Every man knows the sting of showing too much, confessing weakness only to see a smirk on someone else's face. That sting is why most men hide. But what if your greatest weakness could become your greatest weapon? The dark advisor of princes knew a truth most men would run from. Vulnerability is inevitable. Expose it recklessly and you invite destruction. But wield it with ruthless intention and you become untouchable. This is not about softness. This is not about pity. This is about control. Control of yourself. Control of appearances. Control of how the world perceives the cracks in your armor. Tonight, we enter Machiavelli's world. We uncover 5 ways to transform vulnerability into dangerous leadership. Watch this video to the end to get tools to make men respect you, fear you, and ultimately follow you. Machiavelli begins with a paradox. He says, it is not essential that a prince should have all the good qualities, but it is most essential that he should seem to have them. Do you hear that? Seem. Appearance is power. You do not need to be pure, honest, or merciful, but you must look as if you are, because you are like a work of art that is becoming. You are becoming pure as you strengthen your desire to lead. You are becoming honest as you allow your strategy to guide each and every decision you make. And you are becoming merciful when you choose mercy over cruelty. Men do not see your soul. They see your mask. You as a leader are a magician. You wave one hand in vulnerability, so the audience never notices the other hand, where the real trick is hidden in your becoming. Humans are wired to judge quickly. Within seconds, they decide if you're strong or weak. Vulnerability revealed uncontrolled imprints weakness in their memory. But vulnerability revealed on your terms imprints trust. A president might give tearful condolences after a tragedy. Do you believe those tears are always genuine? Perhaps. But often they are carefully calibrated signals. A show of vulnerability indicating that their only choice is to trust. Trust you. Trust your mask. Trust your leadership. Or a CEO standing before cameras during a product failure. He bows his head, apologizes publicly, accepts responsibility. It seems humble, but notice how he never admits fault that could sink the company in lawsuits. He exposes just enough weakness to appear human while concealing what could kill him, all the while using that time to think of his next move, the next strategy, developing a plan to put him back on top. Your vulnerability must function the same way. Imagine yourself as a sculpture of statues. The people see the polished marble. Behind the pedestal, the cracks and chips are hidden. You never place the cracked side facing forward. This is the first law. Curate your weakness. Go ahead, write that in the comments to tell the world you are ready to rise. Reveal them only when necessary, and never, ever show your next move to the ones that can destroy you. Now, emotions. Machiavelli asked the timeless question, is it better to be loved or feared? His answer drips with brutal realism. It is much safer to be feared than loved. Why? Because love is fragile. Love is like silk thread, soft, pleasant, but frays at the slightest strain. Fear and respect are chains of iron, heavy but unbreakable. In the corporate world, think of the friendly boss, the one who wants to be loved by his team. At first, he feels good, with all the laughter, camaraderie, and warmth. But when deadlines close in, when he needs results, The same people he tried to befriend will walk all over him, because love makes no guarantees. Contrast this with the respected leader. He is not cruel, but he enforces rules. His team knows failures has consequences. They may not adore him at every moment, but they deliver for him, because respect lasts longer than affection. And so, they fear his displeasure and work for his glory. This principle appears in relationships too. A man who depends entirely on being adored by his partner is vulnerable. Every mood swing, every withdrawal of affection destabilizes him. But a man respected for his boundaries and self-control cannot be manipulated so easily. This is the second law. Do not be vulnerable to others' love. Demand their respect, because respect is never withdrawn on a whim. Now we enter the realm of political vulnerability. Machiavelli despised mercenaries, those hired soldiers who fought for gold rather than loyalty. Mercenaries and auxiliaries are useless and dangerous, he warned. Depending on mercenaries is like building your castle on another man's land. The moment he reclaims it, your fortress crumbles. Depending on mercenaries is not just a political trap, it's a psychological trap, where your confidence rests entirely on a mentor's praise, a partner's approval, or an algorithm's blessing. You're not a leader, you're a hostage. Imagine the entrepreneur who outsources all his core skills to consultants. He may grow quickly, but his strength is not his own. The moment the consultants leave, his empire collapses. Because he was too scared to fall down, make a mistake and dust himself off. He relied on another he could control, manipulate, and use as a scapegoat when his empire fell. Or the man who builds his self-worth entirely on a single mentor, a single friend, a single job. That dependence is his fortress. And as Machiavelli says, fortresses betray you. You become vulnerable. You begin to believe the mask you wear is really who you are. You forget that your mask was meant to be a shield to protect your deepest desires from being destroyed. Consider social media influencers who build their entire audience on one platform: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. The moment the algorithm changes, their reach evaporates. They were mercenaries, not soldiers of their own making. And that paves the way for vulnerability. Machiavelli's warning echoes across centuries. Do not place your fate in another man's hand. Visualize a tree. If its roots depend on shallow soil, a storm rips it down. But a tree with deep roots in stone survives. Your own skills, your own network, your own authority. These are your roots. You feel vulnerable because you are vulnerable. And it is that vulnerability that you must weaponize to stand out in a sea of desperate hands stretching out to grab onto the next living thing. This is the third law. Do not expose yourself to dependence. Do not make your strength a hostage to another man's will. Build power that is yours and yours alone. Here lies the heart of our theme. Most men confuse vulnerability with honesty. They believe to be open is to be noble. They spill their secrets. They expose their fears. And they are cut down for it. Machiavelli would laugh. Vulnerability must never be reckless. It must be intentional. Look at leaders who master this art. Elon Musk often admits failures publicly, rockets exploding, mistakes in production. But notice, he frames them as part of a grand narrative. Failure becomes fuel for innovation. Vulnerability becomes myth-making. Or consider Barack Obama. He would acknowledge flaws, saying things like, "I made mistakes," but always in a context where the admission enhanced his credibility. He controlled the when, the how, and the why. Think of this like a chess game. You might choose to sacrifice a pawn. To the crowd, it looks like a loss, but you gave it up willingly to win the match. Your vulnerability must be the same. Sacrifice small admissions to win larger respect. Expose minor flaws to conceal major strategies. 3 rules always. When? Pick the timing. Reveal in strength, not in desperation. How? Frame it as growth, never weakness. Why? Aim for trust, loyalty, or strategic advantage. This is the 4th law. Vulnerability is not surrender. It is a weapon, and you must wield it deliberately. Machiavelli understood something most men still ignore. Leadership is theater. Appearances move people more than truth. Vulnerability, when revealed, is not raw. It is staged. In politics, moments of humility are rarely accidental. Tears at a memorial, a bowed head in a press conference, an admission of regret during a campaign. These are crafted signals, performed at the precise time when they inspire trust rather than contempt. The same pattern plays out in business. A CEO steps forward after a scandal, apologizes publicly, admits responsibility. To the crowd, it looks like authenticity. Behind the scenes, lawyers have carved away anything that to become liability. What remains is performance, the illusion of weakness masking the preservation of power. This is how the human mind works. We believe what feels real, and so leaders give us fragments of flaw, just enough to make them human, never enough to make them weak. Vulnerability, then, is not confession. It is theater, a script rehearsed in advance, a mask carefully chosen for the stage. The leader, like an actor, decides which side of him faces the spotlight. The audience sees a story of humanity. Behind the curtain, control remains untouched. Finally, the most famous lesson. A prince must imitate the fox and the lion. The fox sees the traps. The lion scares the wolves. The fox is the shadow that slips through traps. The lion is the roar that silences challengers. One without the other dies. Together, they dominate. Think of Winston Churchill during World War II. Fox, he maneuvered politically, balancing factions, outsmarting rivals in Parliament. Lion, he spoke with thunder, his voice alone enough to stiffen a nation's spine. Without fox-like cunning, he would have been outmaneuvered. Without lion-like strength, he would have not inspired. Or picture Steve Jobs. Fox, hiding product details until the right moment, creating anticipation and secrecy. Lion, standing on stage, commanding attention, intimidating competitors with bold claims. Together, fox and lion make a leader invincible. Vulnerability? The fox hides it. The lion drowns it out with strength. Visualize it this way. The fox is the shadow slipping through traps. The lion is the roar that silences challengers. One without the other fails. Both together conquer. This is the 5th law. Be cunning enough to see your weaknesses and strong enough to ensure they can never be exploited. Why does any of this matter? Why is it so critically important to become ruthless with your vulnerability? Because you're executing your legacy. You are forging your memory out of the stones that make up every decision made in your life. Every leader dies, but reputations live on. Machiavelli knew memory is built not on truth, but on fragments, scars, stories, and symbols left behind. Caesar displayed his scars to soldiers, not to win pity, but loyalty. His wounds became proof of courage. Generals who bled in silence, hiding their weakness out of fear, were forgotten. The difference is simple. What you reveal deliberately becomes part of your legend. What you conceal completely vanishes with you. Modern leaders follow the same pattern. Steve Jobs never confessed his deepest insecurities, but he allowed one narrative to define him: exile and triumphant return. Being fired from Apple could have been humiliation. Instead, it became the myth of his resilience. Vulnerability transformed into legacy. For you, the question is the same. Which admissions will echo after you're gone? Which weakness will you turn into scars worth showing? Symbols of lessons learned and strength regained. Legacy is never built on perfection. It is built on carefully chosen flaws, scars displayed with purpose. In that act of choice, you decide whether your story ends as a tale of defeat or as a myth of dangerous leadership. So, let us return to the question: reckless or ruthless? The reckless man bares his throat, hoping for mercy. The ruthless man bears it only to draw his enemy in.
One dies, the other conquers. Most men are ruled by their fear of being exposed. But you will not be most men. You will wield your scars like weapons, deciding when and how they are seen. That choice is the difference between a man consumed by shame and a leader feared and respected. Machiavelli understood that men are judged not by their hidden essence, but by what they project.
Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Your vulnerabilities will either drag you down or they will elevate you. The difference is intention. So, guard your true weaknesses. Reveal only the ones that serve you. Demand respect, not love. Build your own strength, never leaning too heavily on others. Use confession as a blade, not a plea, and be both fox and lion, cunning and strong, always aware of the traps around you. Used incorrectly, vulnerability destroys you. Used correctly, vulnerability makes you a leader, a dangerous leader. That is what Machiavelli would have you become. If this video hit you, then don't scroll past like nothing has changed. Hit the like button so the algorithm knows men like you still exist. And subscribe so you get the Machiavellian reminder every time we post. Until next time.